Let me join my colleagues who have spoken before me just to welcome each one of us. I think this is a very momentous occasion for us as IDEA. It's actually like a miracle that we are beginning this day in the manner that we are. But before probably I proceed, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Charles Oyaya. I work for the International Development Institute Africa, IDIA, as the Executive Director. I also work for IDIA College of Technology and Development Studies, where I will be privileged to be taking some classes as appropriate. I just want to mention that we are not new in the business of training. We started the IDEA College of Technology and Development Studies in the year 2012 in the great county of Siaya. And we have had the good experience of producing people who are now in service in different fields, both within the country, but also engaging even course any human being and any institution goes through. And we had to shift base from Siaya to Nairobi, and Nairobi Metropolitan, as it were. And that process has also taken quite a few years, since 2018 to date. And therefore, this is a very momentous occasion, as I'd mentioned before. What I'm going to do is just to highlight who we are, so that when anybody asks you, what is IDEA College? What is so special about IDEA College? Why are you even there in the first place? Then you'd be able to speak with authority and with confidence. I would also just want to mention that those who have spoken before me have said that the reason we are in this space is to do the best that we can to empower, to enable, and to give to the world those who will serve as servant leaders. So that even if, Brenda, you are in a crowd, you will stand out. People will be asking, who is this person? That is our prayer. That is our hope, but most importantly, that is our commitment. And we are saying that because we have tested and we know that that commitment is not just seen, but will be seen to be done in your lives, not just for yourself. I think Mary, in his sharing, said that we are in a world of love me first, isn't it? But the commandment is that love others as you love yourself. So you start with others as you come to yourself, and as you begin from yourself, then you can. I'm told you cannot give what you don't have, isn't it? You cannot give what you don't have. So that is basically what we are here for, and we are privileged to have those who have made a step of faith to begin this journey. I'm very sure that when Brenda came yesterday, I don't know what was going on in her mind and her heart, but must have been wondering, where am I? Am I at home or am I at school? You see, I assure you that the very moment you have stepped here, you will not live the same. You will not live the same. Now, there's a lot of light, so I believe we will still be able to see. Who is IDEA? IDEA is defined by what it stands for. As has been indicated, we are a knowledge enterprise. Our business is in the space of generating knowledge, transferring knowledge, and applying knowledge for change. That is basically our calling. And as had been mentioned before, that there are many things, but what actually cuts the edges is actually knowledge. And we are told that there is nothing more precious than knowledge. And when it is knowledge that is founded definition is basically directed by Christian principles and values that promote generation and application of knowledge. And that is what, like Mary before me had mentioned, that our scriptural anchor is Romans 12:2. Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, which is his good, pleasing, and perfect will. No wonder, as had been said before, that the Bible says that we perish because of lack of what? Of knowledge. Having the capacity to look at the world and be co-creators with God. That is why at the Garden of Eden, God gave you everything and told you to take charge of it and use it. God therefore transferred to us the power of co-creation. And you cannot co-create without competence, without knowledge. You cannot discover without the spirit of inquisition. The spirit of asking questions. And no wonder Paul in Romans 12:2 tells us not to conform, but to always be in the search of deeper knowledge. We become learners. We become inquirers. And when we get that knowledge, then we apply it. And that is where we discover what God's will is for us, individually and collectively as a society. So it is on this basis that we do commit ourselves to advancing positive knowledge. What does that mean? It means that the knowledge may not be one way. There is knowledge which if you acquire may be negative. And therefore we commit to positive knowledge. Knowledge that contributes to transformation of our society. We are committed to fostering positive learning. You can learn negatively. And like now, these gadgets here are powerful tools for negative learning. And I think, again, Mary did mention, for example, we have tools like AI, isn't it? It can be good, it can also be bad. So when we are writing our statutes as an institution, we have a full statute on the use and application of AI in learning. I think not too long ago, we did see drama online, isn't it? Some students who want to become doctors, isn't it? Pumped up with so many things, gadgets all over them, isn't it? They are actually using AI. They just say, tell me about clinical pathology. And then he starts telling you, isn't it? So what we are actually saying is that we are not just committed to advancing positive knowledge, but also fostering positive learning. But more importantly, this should make you and transform you and me to be transformational leaders. Leaders who are uncomfortable with the situation as it is. Leaders who will feel something churning in their stomachs to change the situation as it is. Not leaders who cry with people who look up to them. And we have developed a society of crying leaders. And sometimes you wonder whether they are actually leading or they are being led. And we are saying when we leave this place, as part of our transformation is to be aware, to be conscious of our responsibility of leadership wherever we find ourselves. And being a leader does not mean you are a politician. If you are put in the political space, thank God. If you are put in the family space, thank God. If you are put in community space, thank God. If you are put in a service space, thank God. You are a leader and your leadership should be transformational. Lastly, the knowledge that we are committed to should lead to a sustainable development. That is part of our commitment. And what is sustainable development? As we will be learning some of the units we will be taking, we'll be talking more deeply about this. But for me, sustainable development is very simple. Live and let live. Live and let what? Live. Are we getting that? Is not leaves inheritance to his children, but his children's what? Children. That is sustainable development. Basically, it's telling you that think across generations. Think beyond yourself. We are in a world that now people are even debating whether they should have children. I've seen cases where, for example, you meet a gentleman and the gentleman tells you, or the lady tells you, that I'm sorry, we want to be together, but I don't want children, isn't it? In my language, they say that whoever does not want children wants to die with his head. In other words, you are not progeniting into another generation. Are we getting that? You are giving to another generation. You are co-creating with God, not for yourself, but beginning with yourself to the next generation. That, to me, is what sustainable development is. It does not die with events, with moments, but it lives and lets what? Live. So when anybody asks you, what's IDEA and what's IDEA College? Say we are about advancing knowledge. We are about fostering learning. We are about transformational leadership. We are about sustainable development. And it is for that reason that our motto is very simple, that we are there for knowledge and what? Change. Whatever we do, wherever we do it, we are there for knowledge and change. And how do we pursue our motto of being there for knowledge and change? We have to be distinctive. Whatever we do must stand out. So if I'm teaching, I'm not just teaching for the sake of teaching. It must be distinctive. And we are going to have opportunity as students to also assess us. After I've taught you, you will say, that teacher, how was she or how was he? You see what I mean? So I'm not only just assessing you, you also do what? Assess me. We are committed to quality and we are committed to excellence. So we are not just distinctive, we are called to deliver quality. We are called to the enterprise of excellence. So whatever we do, we are not just doing it half-heartedly. We put all our soul, all our minds to it, all our bodies to it. That is our desire. If we are able to do that, then indeed we will be conduits of transformation. Mary did mention that we have two dimensions, and we will see even other dimensions which will be germinating as time goes by. Our corporate vision is to be a leading value-based knowledge enterprise of excellence in Africa and the world. That is why we call ourselves international. So although we are located here in Nkoroi, in the county of Kajiado, within the Nairobi metropolitan area, in the Republic of Kenya, this is just a launch pad to Africa and the world. So whatever you are going to go through in terms of learning should be able to prepare you to be ready to work even in Iceland or Green Pole or North Pole or South Pole if God puts you there. And it remains our hope and prayer that from this idea, and already it is happening, we will be contributing to transforming the world. in whatever we do. Now, for IDIA College and Mark, in both cases, we are value-based. In other words, you will not achieve positive knowledge, foster positive learning, foster transformational leadership and sustainable development if you don't stand for anything. That is why at the very beginning we say that we are guided by Christian principles and values, isn't it? So that is why we have no apology in saying we are value-based. So just like the corporate idea, the IDIA College, we want to be the leading value-based tertiary education and training institution of excellence in Kenya and the world. That is what IDIA College for Technology and Development Studies is all about. What then is our calling? I think we hear of being called. This is basically our mission. What is it that we are called for? As I'd mentioned before, we are called to foster transformative leadership and sustainable development in Africa and the world through, one, value-based education. So what we are doing is just part of the instruments for achieving our calling, which we call our mission. Two, through applied knowledge to foster change and development. Through consultancy, we provide thought leadership in various aspects. People come to seek our minds on various issues. So instead of complaining of problems, we become problem solvers. So we provide consulting services, advisory services. We provide policy thought leadership in the various fields of development. In other words, if things have to be changed at the decision-making level, we are there and we provide guidance. We help develop laws, we help develop policies, we help develop programs, plans, and so on and so forth. We provide thought leadership. In other words, we are using the knowledge we have to foster change, isn't it? So even as part of your learning, you will find yourself sometimes being called to be part of these things that we do, whether it is research, whether it is policy work, and so on and so forth. Last but not least, we are about social enterprise. So in other words, whatever we will do, whatever we'll create, we will be asking ourselves, does it create value? Wherever you are, whether you are in the community, whether you are in the industry, whether you are in an institution, whatever you do, whatever your contribution is, does it add value and create value? And that is actually the essence of enterprise. So one of the basic units that you are going to be taking is on enterprise, isn't it? And probably we'll talk a little bit more about that. As I said, what then is our commitment? We have unrivaled commitment to educate and nurture a new generation of socially responsible, ethical, and transformational servant leaders. Heavy words, isn't it? Our business here is to educate you, to nurture you. As we also nurture ourselves, because we are also co-learners in this process. Days of Elijah, when he thought he was the only prophet surviving, he was reminded by God that, is it 700 others? There are 700 others. The world around us may look like it is not possible to live an ethical, socially responsible life and to serve in a socially and ethical way. But we are saying it is possible. And through your learning, we trust and we believe we'll be able to equip you with the necessary competencies and necessary skills, and I believe you will have acquired a positive attitude to be a servant leader who can stand up and be counted. But we are not just talking about nurturing and educating and ethical, but also somebody who can adapt his skills and knowledge and competencies to a dynamic world. We normally say that the world will not change for you to fit in it. It is you to change and fit in the what? In the world. So we have an integrating global environment. The job that you have here is being competed for by somebody from India. Sometimes we see even our so-called development partners, coming around. They are giving you money. Actually, when they do, they are creating employment opportunities for their people. So the job that you can take, you can do, is being done by somebody from the US, for example. Yeah. For example. So we are training you to be aware of the world within which you find yourself. And I believe that is why we have left whatever it is we were doing wherever we were to come to this environment. And I also say that learning is in the context you find yourself. So just in summary, when we talk about our mission, it is linked to global commitments that we have made in the name of Sustainable Development Goals. So this should not be Greek to you at the end of the day. And what is this all about? One is to understand that the way the world now works, we work within a universal context, where what happens in New York happens in Nairobi, happens in Siaya, happens in North Hall, in Marsabit, and so on and so forth. So if there are rights, then there are rights which apply to every person. And when we are talking about cities, businesses, schools, organizations, all are challenged to act within a universal context. That is why we are preparing you to engage within a globally integrating. What we are saying, that unlike others who probably will be teaching you We recognize that the Sustainable Development Goals, which are 17 in number, are interconnected. So in other words, even if you are going to do, for example, community health, no community health has also something to do with your civil rights. Are we getting that? Your right to participate, your right to vote, your right to choose your leaders. So wherever you are called to practice, know very well that each of the 17 goals, and in this case, if your focus is on goal number 3, on health and well-being, then know that it also links with goal number 17 on international partnerships, isn't it? So the mind of working within an integrating world means that you have to think in a multi-sectoral, multidisciplinary, and so on and so forth. You must be connected with the other. And that will be important. Finally, that we understand that when we talk about sustainable development goals is about transformation, transforming the world. From a world in crisis to a world full of promise. I was reading some paper that Brian had written, and there was a reference to a sick planet, isn't it? We are in a sick world. And therefore, we understand when we talk about sustainable development and sustainable development goals is about curing an otherwise sick world. And that is a business of transformation. So as we have said that we want to do this through education, through applied research, through consultancy, through policy thought leadership, through social transformation, and most importantly, through transformative leadership. So we are very clear where we actually fall, and even if we are teaching here where we are, we know we are preparing you adequately to be leaders and children of the world. So you start even looking and appreciating diversity in the world in a different way. You start looking at people and appreciating them in a different way. We have talked about our vision. We have talked about our mission, our commitments. We also have aspirations as IDIA College. And we trust and believe that these 7 forms strategic pillars around which we do whatever we do in pursuit of our mission and vision. Remember, our vision is to be the most respected knowledge enterprise of excellence in Africa and the world, corporately. We want to lead. We want to be the leaders in the marketplace of tertiary education with excellence, driven by values in Kenya and the world. And for us to achieve that, you remember we talked about distinction, isn't it? We have to be distinguished. We have to be highly respected. How will we be respected without you being respected in where we will have prepared you to be? So, we aspire, therefore, to be known as that. Number 2, we want to establish and sustain a highly respected private value-based institution. We are in the process of establishment. You are part of the journey, isn't it? And wherever you go, we had actually a product statement in the book of Isaiah. I will get it and we share it. That wherever you go, people will say, Moses, indeed, you are blessed. Brenda, people will be asking, and who is that? That is actually what we are saying in short. Number 3, what I've already talked about, nurturing transformative leaders committed to transformation and sustainable development. Number 4, we want to develop and conduct applied research and provide consultancy services that are responsive to our clients and stakeholder needs. Number 5, we want to establish and operate an effective human resource and people management systems. As we move through this, it starts with us. We want to become an international center of exchange through diversified partnership. As we say, we are thinking global, isn't it? Already we are in that pathway, that we will be a center where everybody wants to be as we also engage with others within their locations. We want to be known in that regard. And last but not least, there are those who have decided to invest in this vision. They must get their value at the end of the day. It is our responsibility to give them their value because they have invested in this vision. And it is not mean investment for that matter. We say we are value-based, so what are our values? What are our values? And I believe you will take time to look through this number of values that we have. 1, excellence. As I'd said before, we don't do things half-heartedly. We want to give the best that we can, even if others don't think it is the best, but we are convinced, we are convicted that we have done the best that we can. And even if, as we are doing that, there are those who want to bring you down. You know, there are those people who want to tell you negative things to deal with your self-esteem, isn't it? To make you think you are useless, you are what and what. But if you are convinced you are doing your best, you will have no reason to worry. So in other words, we set high standards for ourselves, but also in relation to those we serve. And who are those we serve? We serve those of you. You are our clients, you are our customers. And that is why we say, look, if we are giving less, then just tell us. We expect better. Is our defining value. Integrity. We have talked about that. I would rather get 0 than get 100% through cheating. I remember there was a school where children got A's, but they are telling them, although you have an A, but don't go for this course. You will be going through assessment. Whatever you have gotten, thank God for it. Build on it. Don't cheat. To make it look better, yeah? They say these days, fake it until it looks what? Conforming always looking at the other side, asking yourself questions beyond the normal. Creating, innovating becomes key. Lifelong learning. There is a profession I know where people are so learned that they call themselves learned friends, isn't it? Wherever you feel you have learned enough, that is the beginning of your diminishing returns. We believe in lifelong learning, that learning is continuous because we are subject to continuous improvement. And that is why we are saying, even as your teacher, I would be a co-learner. Because I will be learning from yourselves. And these days, teaching has become even more difficult for the teachers who are around here. The student is so prepared through the phone that they are looking at you and saying, this one is cheating as lies. At least that is an English I got from NYS, you know. Yes. Tell that university girls read novels and novels cheat them lies. Yeah. Yeah. Cheating you and cheating you again. Servant leadership, and we have talked about this. Leading by doing. Being comfortable with the status quo where you are, but taking initiative to pursue new ideas. In other words, if I come here and I find there are no trees, isn't it? I don't sit comfortable with the grass. I will say that how can we bring trees, isn't it? If for nothing else, to change the environment. You see what I mean? But there are those of us who will get things as they are and they take them as they are. They don't question them. So innovation is about inquisition, challenging the situation as it is, and being driven by a belief that things can be done, but done differently. Not the same way. As they say, that if you do things the same way, you don't expect different what? Results. Accountability would be key. Diversity. We live in a very diverse world, diverse environment. We meet with people from different backgrounds. Like even when we are sitting here, we are diverse, isn't it? I think here we have Gen Zs, we have millennials, we have the Xs like ourselves. You see what I mean? That is diversity. How do you engage with people in that regard? They are men, they are women, isn't it? Some of us even speak in tongues. So even if I call she, then you just accept me. You see what I mean? You don't start ostracizing me because instead of saying she, I said she. That is diversity. So it is important just to take note of that. Social responsibility, we have talked about that. And then yoking together, partnership. I think it's Mary who had talked about yoking, isn't it? And the Bible tells us that two cannot walk together unless they agree, isn't it? And that is where we are being asked, who do you even yoke with? So you have choices. Not everything that comes your way will be good. But that is why we have this set of values. So these are the things that keep us on check. They define the boundaries of our actions. They are like our compass. you ask yourself, does it fall in any of these values? Is that what you'd like to see? So these are the things that guide us and keep us in check. Even when we are going off track, we just remember that, hey, is what I'm doing, fitting within some of these things that we have talked about. As organization, IDIA Corporate and IDIA College have respectively governance structures. We have boards of directors. We have shareholders. Remember, one of our aspirations is to give value to our shareholders, isn't it? We have also those we engage and keep picking their minds. They are in the advisory board level. And early this year, for example, we had a thought leaders meeting. It was the 8th one, isn't it? So we get their perspectives, we get their input, and therefore there are also quality control mechanisms that ensures that, again, we remain real to those principles and values that we have talked about. As we had said, we provide a number of services: consultancy and advisory services, research, policy thought leadership, tertiary and higher education, and social enterprise. And when we talk about tertiary and higher education, that is where we are. So we have IDIA College of Technology and Development Studies. We are also evolving what will become the International Development University of Africa. And we'll be talking about that. So that is why we are talking about tertiary and higher. In this case, mid-level and university level. We are working towards that, and we'll speak more about that.